if you looked at this email, and this email, would you believe me if I told you we designed each of these in under 16 minutes? That's because in over 2 years, we've generated more than $10 million in email revenue. And along the way, we've designed thousands of emails, like literally thousands of emails. Along the way, we developed an internal step-by-step process to ensure that we can consistently churn out high quality, high converting emails in as little time as possible. This process, it's super simple. It's not going to take you any previous design skills. You don't need to be like a Photoshop wizard or anything like that. And trust me, I can say that because I have the design skills of a literal rock. All you need is Klaviyo and Figma, which are both completely free, and this video. So I'm going to hold your hand through the entire creation process from actually designing within Figma all the way up to uploading this inside of Klaviyo so you can send it out to your audience. And as a bonus, I'm going to give you 5 free high converting Figma templates, which are all battle tested, and that's going to be linked for you in the video description. So open up Figma, open up Klaviyo, and let's get into it. But before we get into it, I just want to take a sec to really drill into why this is actually important. So why should you care about design? And that's because in 2024, the average person's attention span is just absolutely cooked. It's fried, right? So pretty colors are just going to make a person go, ooh, and like, you know, cat videos or cat memes are just going to make a person laugh. People literally have the attention span less than that of a goldfish, right? Like a goldfish is 9 seconds and now you're probably like 8, if not less. Like when's the last time you actually gave a TikTok or a reel more than 8 seconds, right? So your emails are fighting for mental real estate. And why is someone going to click and actually read your email when they could just doom scroll funny cat memes, right? Like your designs, they need to be aesthetic to actually hold people's engagement, because this is what gets them to actually absorb and read your message. So bit of a fact check here, but people do actually judge a book by its cover, right? Like you probably do this yourself, because with the average person being exposed to like thousands of ads per day, our eyes have literally developed a filter to quickly create associations about a brand, and these associations usually just stick with us forever. So here's a little example of a bad design, right? Like look at this on the left here, right? Look, it looks scammy AF. There's zero trust here. You know, you might have seen something like this in your burner email that you made when you were a teenager, right? And maybe like that one time you bought a hat off Temu, you're like, oh, they probably sold my data, right? Like this just looks scammy. This is probably you right here, right? And a little bit of a danger zone here, but I just want to preface that, like, if you're thinking my emails don't look this bad, like this is an exaggeration, one, obviously, but two, all this means now is like you're just mid, right? Like, oh no, like I don't look ugly, I'm average. Like no one's gonna read your email anyway. So, right, now we move on to good design. And this is where people actually read your email. And this is where your emails, they're aligned with the rest of your marketing. You actually now look like a professional. And because of this, people are now actually going to see what your offer is. So now this is you. You're all happy. You can't wait till next week's edition. It looks really interesting. It was just what you needed. Maybe you actually didn't know what to do on a bank holiday. And now you're thinking, man, I love this brand. So what does this mean for you? This means you need to learn basic design skills if you don't want to spend hours writing an email that people just instantly click out of. If you don't want your brand to be associated as a spammy or boring brand, if you want your emails to actually be read and for people to be nurtured down their customer journey, or if you want to capture the attention of your audience instead of this little goldfish going around in circles, and if you want your audience to actually get, if you want to get your audience rather to purchase from your emails, this is going to be for you. So let's learn how to make this email inside of Figma. And I'm also just going to link the Figma actually in this doc, which will be in the description. And it's also going to have your 5 free emails. Now, before we jump in, what you need to prepare is you just need to have your copy ready. You need to have any assets that you want to put inside of your campaign ready. And then inside of Figma, we're just going to ensure your frame is 1200 pixels wide, but we're going to get into that in a second anyway. And we'll get into the structure of your emails while we build it. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into it. So from a blank canvas, how do we actually go to this email? This email looks really pretty, but I promise you it's not as intimidating as it might look. And for just a little bit of fun, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set this Google timer for 16 minutes. I'm going to give myself an extra minute just so I can talk over it. but let's actually get into designing. So you're going to see here, I've annotated what to expect on the left side here, which is we've got the logo, we've got the header, we've got the subheader, CTA, header image, body, CTA. So you actually know specifically what we're going to be making. Now, you're going to see here on the right side, I've actually already prepared all of the assets that I want for this email. This is actually going to help you save a lot of time, because half the time if you're kind of looking for things to actually include, that is what's going to make it take a little bit longer. But let's actually build this email piece by piece. But before we get into that, if you do like how this email looks, you can actually use the exact email. You can just literally take this exact structure, as well as all of these other 5 templates that we've got created for you. The process that you use to build this email is going to be exactly the same process you use to build these emails, or honestly any other email that you build inside of Figma ever. So let's jump into it, and starting from the top, which is very simply the logo. Now, every brand obviously is going to have one, and so what you want to do is literally get your brand assets and put the logo at the top. You can literally put it in the middle, or you can put it on the left side like we have here. The reason we put it on the left side is because this brand actually has a tagline that they wanted to show off, but very simply as well, you can put it in the middle. If, for example, your brand just has, like, instead of a word, it might have like an icon or something. So just like that. Now, next from here, what I want you to do is, we're going to see this line right there, and super easy to actually get that. You can either just press, click on this in the top right, and you're going to see this line button there, or you can just press L on your keyboard, which I'm going to do. It's the only L that I take, and we're going to chuck it in here. So you're going to see, like, this line, it looks straight, but what we can see is it is in fact a tad bit wonky. So we're going to go over here to the rotation, just press 0 to get that straight. Now, that's the logo done, nice and simple. So for this brand, their text is actually already inside of Figma. Sorry, their font rather. So what we're going to do is we're just going to copy paste this across. And what you can do is you can press this button here, which is order with, and that just makes it so that it will automatically match to whatever your copy is going to be. So let's say the copy is going to be, hello, I'm done. Now this block will only be as wide as it needs to be. I could extend it like that, but, or for example, if I have it set like this, it's only going to take up that much room. So we're going to switch it back to the odd bunch and have it set up like this. Now this is our header, and we're going to get our subheader going. So again, it really helps to know what your brand's font is, what your sizes are, and this is really why we recommend having the copy ready first before you start building the designs. Now for the CTA, you're going to see we have this nice little browse blonde here. What you can do to make this easier for yourself is, again, go into the shapes here, and you're going to see rectangle, or you can press R, and now make a box which you think is going to be suitably sized. Now you want to know what color palette that you're going to be using for your brand. This is a pretty simple brand because a lot of their stuff is just black and white, but if your brand uses a specific red, if your brand uses a specific green, this is where you would want to chuck in that hex index. So for this brand, again, because it's nice and simple, we are just going to chuck it all the way to black, just like that. Now, we obviously need a bit of text on top of the CTA, so we're going to get this here. Let's make that white, actually, so we can see it. So it looks like we're actually going to need to bring this layer to the front so that we can see it. So what you want to do is you want to right click, bring to front, and now boom, it's suddenly on top of there. So for blonde, we're going to do it nice and simple, and we're just going to say browse blonde. Now you're going to see here that little trick that we learned earlier is going to really come in clutch, where we go for order width, just like that. Beautiful. So that's actually already a lot of the heavy lifting done. Now, this sort of section at the back, it looks real fancy, but honestly, it's not nearly as fancy as it looks. It's literally just 6 images that we took on their website, and then we chucked it into like a little mosaic. So you can do it the way that we did it, and if you want to, again, you can go straight to this template, but otherwise you can just start mashing things up and trying to loosely copy it. So for example, let's start off with the back. I think this is that image. And chuck it back like that. We can throw this down the middle right there. Looks like this kind of goes there. And what you'll notice inside of Figma is that it gives you these really handy kind of like orange indicators, just to make sure that what you're doing is straight or it's in line. So definitely pay attention to those as you're building this email, or any email really. And now we have this up at the top. Chuck that there. Then it looks like we have this over there. And finally, this one over here. So we can scroll in just like that. And now we get something that looks pretty good. Obviously, if you want to be granular with it, you can tell this one looks a bit different. But again, like what we're looking for necessarily isn't perfection here. We just want to have an email that looks really pretty in, I guess, as little effort as possible. So from here, now we've got the header image, and immediately this is the section above the fold where you can see we just immediately have a bunch of intrigue, right? Like it's a much interesting of a header. Doesn't look boring. Copy's nice and easy to read, and CTA is nice and close to the top. So from here, moving on, we're going to press L again. And now this is the bit which is super simple to bring in. So I'm just going to copy and paste this across, because you'll probably be copy pasting this from like a Google Doc. You might be making this on the spot. But what you really want to do is actually come pre-prepared and have your copy done. Because if you have this, like if you're editing this a lot on the spot or as you go, it's going to be really hard to actually know how big this email needs to be. So get your text block. If you want to do it manually, what you do is you press T, or you can press it, or click this little button at the top. We click and drag, and then we can copy and paste our text across, just like that. So this button is probably going to be your worst enemy now. So let's not click that one, and let's actually just drag and make sure that we've got a good amount of space in between, just like that. And so that is now the body text. Ooh, I don't know where this one went. Okay, that's all right. Press R because we would need that next button. Oh geez, that's actually a good size. We'll go black. And now, to make things quicker for yourself, you can actually just click on something you've already created and just literally Control-C, Control-V. Just copy-paste that through. Now you're going to see here it kind of disappears. Oh no. So, here we go. Now we're going to bring this to front by right-clicking, bring the bottom back over it, and make sure that it's actually center-aligned. Just like that. And for this one, again, we're going to leave the CTA as Browse Blonde. And that is literally half the email already created. Now, we're going to take another L. Only L I hope you're taking. Make sure that that's 0. And now we're going to get to the product section. So again, what we've done is I've already prepared the assets that I want here. And we're now just going to actually literally put them side by side and make sure that they look clean. So when we click this, what you want to make sure is that all of these images are basically the same size. So like they're all basically 500 pixels wide. If we want to be real anal about it, we can just, yep, there we go. There we go. I had to scratch my OCD. So now we're clicking in, we're clicking and dragging, and what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're actually aligned with the rest of the email. So for example here, Oh, no, that's not good. Let's get both of them in there. And we can see, okay, so this block is 1000 pixels wide. These are 500 wide. So this is actually probably too close to each other, right? Like we want something where it looks a little bit different. Is it just me or does that? That's like 1 pixel. So what we're going to do is I'm going to move this to the left a smidge. We're going to move this to the right yet another smidge. And now we can see here that they look basically identical together. Now we're going to click and drag the other ones into the frame. I'm going to change this to 0 just because I want it pixel perfect. And now again, you're going to see that Figma's orange lines here are really coming in clutch, just like that. So we've got all 4 of them in. And now what we're going to do is we're going to actually start adding the product titles. So press T. And for this one, it's called Venom. We're going to have the price right underneath that. So press T again. From 149 AUD. We do now, however, need to actually change the font. So I think this one is like Gilbert. Or Gil Sans. Just like that. And so now as a little Figma pro tip, what you can do is you can click on that. Then you want to press either Alt or Command, depending on whatever you're using, and Shift. And you want to click on both of these. Now you can press Control G. That's going to group these two together. And now it's actually going to make it really easy for you to copy and paste things across. So copy paste, make sure that it's aligned, copy paste. And boom, there you go. So now let's update all of these. So this one is called New Moon. This is $139. Going towards the bottom here, 129. This one here, 129. This one is called Stay Cool. Disco. And finally, the last element that we need is the CTA. So we're going to make a box and we're going to make this as wide as this. So remember, this is 500. So what we want to do is press R. It looks like we're almost there. So make this a little bit wider, just like that. And now again, what we want is this kind of like boxed in effect. And the way that you're going to do that is by clicking this button here, which says stroke. Then we're going to make the fill, instead of black like the other CTAs that we use, we're just going to fill this in with white. And now you can see we have a pretty good box there, just like that. So now we're going to double click on this section here, or we can also just click on the previous CTAs we've used, drag them in there. And I think for this one, we want it a bit more on the left side. Let's make this black so we can actually see it. Oh, maybe that wasn't it. Okay, there we go. So bring it to the front as well by right clicking. And then remember here, we're going to change the CTA to shop now. Just like that. And now we have this little arrow that we want to include. So how do we do that? Click on the shape on the top here, Shift L, which is a little arrow, and click and drag across. And so, yeah, this obviously is not straight. So let's do it just like that. And now we've got it sorted. So this looks like it's a little bit big. You might want to reduce that. For mobile visibility, I would recommend anything above 32. that will be nice and easy to read on top. So now we've got this button here, click and drag everything, and then we're going to press Alt G, that's to group everything together. Now we can just really nice and easily copy and paste this across to everything. And boom, just like that. Okay, wait, let me move this across so it actually looks the same. But just like that, we've now basically created an identical email. It was nice and easy. And how long did it take us? Literally under 16 minutes. So I'm going to stop now. So I hope that was helpful. And again, just remember that every skill that we went through in this tutorial here, you are going to be rinse and repeating that exact same process with every single email that you design, whether you use these templates that we provide for you, or whether you create these types of emails yourself. So hopefully that was helpful. So we've just finished designing this email. It looks great, but it's actually not going to make us any money while it's sitting here in Figma. So job's not quite done yet, but luckily we've actually done the hardest part of the entire process. So actually getting this inside of Klaviyo is by far the easiest bit. So what you want to do is you want to go over to your Figma, and what you're going to press for me is S, literally the letter S, right? What that does is once you press S, you're going to see this slicing tool come up on the top right. And now this is what allows us to actually slice up this entire design into images that we can export. So what you're going to do is you're going to click up into the corner, and you're going to find that like Figma does this little auto aim thing where it kind of just like drags your cursor all the way to the top right. But if you want to get real granular with it, you can really just zoom in by pressing Command or Alt, and you're gonna be able to see and make sure that you're actually right up into the corners. Another way you're gonna make sure is you're gonna see here on the left side in the frame that you've just built, it's going to say slice 1. Now you can click into that, and you can actually just make sure that it's as wide as the frame. So you can also just click and scroll into here and just make sure that you get the entire frame and all the details, for example, like that little line there. Now, this is our first slice. Again, we're going to click on this by just clicking on the left side here. So from here, what we can do is now export it. So we're going to do it as a JPEG because PNGs, they're a little bit heavy. And one thing we want to do before we actually export this into Klaviyo is we want to reduce the file size. So again, going back to Figma, we're going to click export, boom. Now we got it here. And you can see it's actually pretty decently sized, right? Like that's almost 1 megabyte. That's going to be really slow for any like mobile or any desktop to load. So we're going to compress this. I use Tiny PNG because I find Panda pretty cute, but to be honest, you can use any web compression thing that you find online. Again, we're going to click up here into the download history, and we're going to see our slices that we've downloaded. So we're going to go to the latest one and just click and drag here. Now you can see that this is on its way to being, oh, beautiful. Literally reduced by 85%, which is massive on a file size. So before we start exporting into Klaviyo, let's jump into Figma and let's slice up everything else. So going into here, zooming in slightly, pressing S, click and drag, just like that. Now, once you get to here, right, because obviously there's 4 products here. So each of these, they're going to require their own little image slice, right? Like we can't just have like one big blanket one to cover all of them because they're all different products. So what you want to use here, it's what's called link logic. And that's just to think like if you're going to click somewhere on a screen, where should that link to logically, right? So again, because we've got 4 products here, what we're going to do is we're just going to divide this up into 4 sections instead of one big one. So we're going to click and drag. This looks about right, 600, right? It's 600 wide, so that sounds about correct. And now we're going to go into the other corner. And just remembering here that Figma kind of has like auto aim, right? You can see these like orangey lines that are coming up. That is what your mouse is basically going to glue itself to. So we could do it like that. We can zoom in just to make sure that that is hitting the corner. And so now when you zoom in, you can kind of see that that slice I just made is overlapped a little bit. So we're going to click on that slice, and then we're just going to drag it down a smidge, just like that. Now that might mean the bottom is a little bit long, so we're just going to scroll in and drag it back up. Nice and easy. Now from here, we're going to press S on the bottom left, do the same thing for the bottom right. And now you're going to see, right, like again, because Figma, it's pretty smart like that, right? Like it uses kind of auto correction, and you can see that everything here right in the middle just really satisfyingly comes together. So now we've got all of our slices ready to go. We can see them on the left side here. So we've got slice 1, 2, 6. So we're going to export slice 2, do that as a JPEG. Slice 3 again as a JPEG. 4, 5, 6, just like that. So now these are all going to be available in my recent download history, amongst other things. So now we're going to click, oh no, drag this in there. And then we're going to let George the Panda do his thing. So 4, 5, 6. So George the Panda has saved us a grand total of 1 megabyte, which is actually huge, right? Again, remembering that people are probably going to be watching, reading your emails on their mobile. They could be on the train, they could be using data. So every bit of optimization is going to count. So now we're going to download all of these. And here is the easy part, which is once you're inside of Klaviyo, all you have to do is click on your downloads and quite literally click it and drag it. Just like that. Boom. Now it's in. We're going to delete this. We're going to delete this. Now we're going to look for slice 2. Perfect. Now, if you remember, looking back at our design, that we have this product section at the bottom, right? So we can't just click and drag like we did for the first 2 slices. We're actually going to need to create a table inside of Klaviyo for this, which also is quite simple. So for this one, we're going to create a table. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that there's no padding that's going to interrupt the design. So we're going to turn everything to 0. We're going to change both of them to text cells, to image cells. And now we're going to go back to our downloads. We're going to find slice 3. Oops, that's the wrong side. Slice 3. Go over to this side and replace it by uploading an image. And now we're going to do slice 4. And now an easy way we can do it is because this table already has the settings we've set up. So let's duplicate it across. And now for this bottom image, we are going to replace it. We're going to upload a new image and we're going to do slice 5. Oop. Oh, interesting. Okay, we're just going to get rid of this first row. Okay, now we're going to replace this right side with slice number 6. And that is it. We have now created, designed a great looking email in literally 15 minutes, probably taken another 5 minutes to actually chuck this inside of Klaviyo. and now you're actually good to go. So this is literally the entire step-by-step process of designing an email inside of Figma and then actually slicing it so that it doesn't stay in Figma. It actually goes out to your email list where it can make you money. So I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions on this, then leave them in the comments below. I'm happy to help you out. And that's the whole video. So if that was helpful or if you learned something new, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like on the video and feel free to subscribe to the channel, as I will be releasing tutorials every single week on anything to do with email marketing. And just as a reminder, this doc that I went through, it is going to be available in the video description. And inside of here, you are going to get access to the exact Figma that we went through together, as well as your 5 free email templates, including the ones here. And this is actually the one from the video in case you want to do this more quickly yourself. Now, in case you do need a bit more inspo, inside of the same doc, we actually do have a massive SWOT file that we've created internally with over 180 emails that we've collected, including email breakdowns of designs we've actually created. And this is basically just designed to give you infinite inspo to create your own emails for your brand. And finally, just coming to the end here, but if you're still not sure how to design high converting emails, maybe you don't have time, maybe you don't have capacity, or maybe you just want to work with a team of experts, you can book a call with us here. This will be linked in the description below. We'll create your full custom email strategy, all of course beautifully designed, but also with a very robust strategy attached to it. And we guarantee to add 25 all the way up to 50K in monthly email revenue in under 60 days for your brand. So have a chat with us and we'll let you know how we go. Anyways, hope that helped, and I'll see you in the next one.